You know what's absolutely mind-blowing? The average bathroom renovation costs more than a brand new Tesla Model 3. And today we're going to break down why these tiny rooms eat up so much of our renovation budgets.
That comparison really puts it in perspective. We're talking about a space that's usually less than 100 square feet, costing upwards of $35,000.
And here's what fascinates me about these numbers. In Northern Virginia, where this data comes from, labor alone typically consumes 40 to 60% of that budget. We're looking at potentially $21,000 just for skilled trades.
That's such a shocking number. What exactly drives those labor costs so high?
Well, think about it. You've got plumbers, electricians, tile setters, and sometimes even structural engineers, all working in a space barely bigger than a walk-in closet. Plus, every mistake is amplified because water damage can cascade through your entire house.
Speaking of water damage, I've heard some real horror stories about renovations gone wrong. What's the biggest mistake people make when budgeting?
Here's a perfect example. I was consulting on a project last year where the homeowners thought they had everything perfectly planned. Beautiful fixtures picked out, timeline set, budget calculated to the penny. Then, they pulled up the old flooring.
Oh no, I can already tell where this is going.
Years of a slow leak had rotted not just the subfloor, but also compromised the floor joists. Suddenly, they're looking at an additional $7,000 in structural repairs before they could even start the actual renovation work.
That really highlights why having a contingency fund is so crucial. How much should people set aside?
The magic number is 10 to 20% of your total budget. But here's something interesting. In Northern Virginia, they're seeing that projects with a 20% contingency are actually more likely to finish on time. Want to know why?
That seems counterintuitive. Please explain.
It's because when surprises pop up, and they always do, homeowners with larger contingencies can make decisions quickly rather than having to pause the project to figure out financing. Time is money in construction, and delays can cascade.
That makes so much sense. What about permits? That's another area where I see people try to cut corners.
Let me share something that might surprise you. In Virginia, unpermitted bathroom work can actually prevent you from selling your home later. The Virginia Uniform. Statewide building code is no joke.
How do homeowners know when they need permits?
Here's my rule of thumb. If you're moving anything that involves water, electricity, or walls, you need a permit. But here's the really interesting part. Permits aren't just about regulation, they're actually a form of protection for homeowners.
Protection? How so?
Think of permits like having a referee in a sports game. The inspector's job is to make sure everything meets safety standards. I've seen cases where inspections caught potentially dangerous mistakes that even experienced contractors missed.
That's fascinating. What about contractor selection? How do people verify they're hiring someone qualified?
This is crucial. There's actually a free database called the DPOR license lookup. But here's what most people don't know. Contractors have different license classes, kind of like belt levels in martial arts.
That's an interesting comparison. What are these different levels?
You've got Class C contractors, who can only handle projects up to $10,000, Class B up to $120,000, and Class A for any size project. But here's the kicker. They also need specific specialty designations for things like plumbing and electrical.
So, what's worth investing in when it comes to materials and features?
Let me share something counterintuitive. About 30% of your budget should go into things you'll never see. We're talking about proper waterproofing membranes, cement board instead of regular drywall, copper plumbing instead of cheaper alternatives.
That's quite different from what most people probably focus on, like fancy fixtures and tile.
Exactly. And here's a trend we're seeing in Northern Virginia, what designers call invisible luxury. Things like humidity sensing fans, smart ventilation systems, and proper waterproofing that might not look impressive in photos, but make a huge difference in daily life.
How do people balance these essential but invisible costs with the aesthetic elements they want?
I recommend dividing your budget into three categories. Infrastructure, that's your behind-the-wall stuff. Functional elements, like plumbing fixtures and ventilation, and aesthetic choices. Typically, that breaks down to 30 to 40 to 30.
And what about timeline? How long should people expect to be without their bathroom?
Here's where it gets interesting. The actual construction takes 3 to 10 weeks, but the entire process, including design and permitting, can stretch to several months. And here's something people often forget to budget for: temporary arrangements during construction.
What kind of temporary arrangements are we talking about?
Everything from gym memberships for showers to portable toilets. I even know one family that worked out a bathroom sharing schedule with their neighbors. But here's the real secret to keeping costs under control: having what I call a decision tree mapped out before construction begins.
Could you explain what you mean by a decision tree?
Think of it like a flow chart that outlines every single choice that needs to be made and when it needs to be made by. Because here's the thing: late decisions or changes can cascade into major delays and cost overruns.
That's such practical advice. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
Yes, remember that sometimes the smartest financial decision is to spend more upfront on quality materials and installation. It's like the old saying about boots: buy once, cry once. A well done bathroom renovation should last 15 to 20 years with minimal maintenance.
Thank you for breaking all this down so clearly. I feel like we've given everyone a real roadmap for planning their renovations.
Indeed, we have. And remember, everyone, whether you're planning a simple update or a complete overhaul, proper planning and budgeting are your best tools for success. The key is to think like a project manager, not just a homeowner.